Rain stung Ethan's face as he ducked into a Seattle cafe, escaping the storm. A barista's voice cut through the noise. "Rough day?" Ethan, 25, froze, caught by the stranger's easy grin. Their eyes locked, and something unspoken sparked. He clutched his coffee, heart racing, haunted by his parents' warnings. "It's not right." The number scrawled on his cup felt like a dare he wasn't sure he could take. Ethan shoved the cup into his bag, the digits burning in his mind. He was a graphic designer, used to clean lines and predictable patterns, not this chaotic pull toward a stranger. Caleb, the name on the barista's tag, had lingered while handing over the coffee, their fingers brushing for a split second. Ethan's pulse hadn't settled since. He trudged back to his apartment, the city's gray haze mirroring his unease. His parents' voices, sharp, unyielding, echoed from childhood. You know what the church says. He'd never questioned it, never had a reason to, until now. The next day, Ethan found himself back at the cafe, not for coffee, but for answers. Caleb was there, wiping down the counter with a casual ease that made Ethan's stomach twist. "Back already?" Caleb teased, his voice light but pointed. Ethan mumbled something about needing caffeine, but his eyes betrayed him, lingering too long. Caleb leaned closer, scribbling his number again. "In case you lost the first one." Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to say something clever, but all he managed was a nod before bolting. That night, alone with his laptop, Ethan stared at his phone. His thumb hovered over Caleb's contact. He'd dated before. Safe, expected relationships with women that never stuck. This was different. Dangerous. His parents would lose it. His co-workers would talk. But the memory of Caleb's grin, that fleeting touch, wouldn't let go. He typed a quick text. "Hey, it's Ethan. Free tomorrow," and hit send before he could overthink it. The reply came fast. "Meet me at Pike Place, 7 p.m. The market buzzed with evening crowds, vendors shouting over the hum of conversation. Ethan spotted Caleb near a fish stand, his posture relaxed, like he belonged anywhere. They walked, shoulders brushing, as they wove through the throng. Caleb talked about dropping out of college, chasing freedom over a degree. Ethan envied that certainty. "You ever just do what you want?" Caleb asked, pausing by the water's edge. Ethan hesitated. Not really. His life was a checklist: job, family expectations. Caleb's eyes held his, steady and searching. "Maybe you should." They ended up at a dive bar, the kind where no one asked questions. Over cheap beers, Caleb's stories of late-night gigs, of leaving a small town that suffocated him, drew Ethan in. He found himself laughing, then sharing things he never told anyone. His fear of disappointing his parents, the pressure to fit their mold. Caleb listened, not judging, just there. When their hands brushed on the table, Ethan didn't pull away. The warmth of Caleb's skin sent a jolt through him, sharp and terrifying. By midnight, they were back on the street, the city quieter now. Caleb stopped under a flickering streetlight. "You're holding back," he said, not accusing, just stating a fact. Ethan's chest tightened. "It's not that simple." Caleb stepped closer, his voice low. "It could be." Their breath mingled in the cool air, and for a moment Ethan thought Caleb might kiss him. Instead, Caleb smiled. Soft, but sure. "Text me when you're ready." Ethan walked home, heart pounding. His phone buzzed with a new message. "You're braver than you think." He stared at it. The weight of his parents' expectations, clashing with the pull of something new. He'd spent years avoiding this, avoiding himself. But Caleb's words lingered, a challenge and a promise. Ethan didn't reply that night. But he didn't delete the message either. For the first time, he let himself wonder what it would mean to stop running. Ethan's phone buzzed on his desk, Caleb's name flashing. "Meet me tonight?" His heart skipped, but his eyes darted to his open office door. A co-worker's laugh rang out, sharp with an edge he'd heard before, casual jabs about those people. Ethan typed back, "Your place, 8. He couldn't risk being seen. Not yet. Caleb's apartment was a short walk from the cafe, tucked above a noisy street. Ethan knocked, nerves twisting. Caleb opened the door, his grin disarming. "Took you long enough," he said, stepping aside. They settled on a couch, a pizza box between them, the TV humming with a forgotten show. Their conversation flowed, music, dreams, the weight of expectations. When Caleb's hand brushed Ethan's knee, it wasn't an accident. Ethan froze, then leaned closer, their shoulders touching. The air felt charged, like a held breath. Their first kiss came later, after the pizza was gone and the TV dimmed. Caleb's lips were warm, tentative at first, then sure. Ethan's mind screamed to pull back, his parents' voices, his co-workers' sneers, but his body stayed, drawn to Caleb's quiet confidence. When they parted, Caleb's eyes searched his. "You okay?" Ethan nodded, though his pulse said otherwise. "Yeah, just new." Days bled into weeks. They met in secret. Caleb's apartment, late-night walks in quiet corners of Seattle, anywhere eyes wouldn't follow. Each stolen moment felt like a rebellion. Caleb pushed Ethan to try new things. A midnight hike, a dive bar's open mic. Ethan felt alive, untethered, but fear lingered. At work, he dodged questions about his weekends. At home, he avoided his parents' calls, their texts heavy with unspoken rules. One night, sprawled on Caleb's bed, Ethan traced circles on Caleb's palm. "Why don't we go out?" "Like, really out?" Caleb asked, his voice soft but pointed. Ethan tensed. "You know why?" Caleb sat up, frustration flickering. "I get it, Ethan. But hiding, it's not living." Ethan's chest tightened. He saw his parents' faces, their church's rigid pews, his boss's cold stare after a diversity joke. "I'm not ready," he said, quieter than he meant. Caleb sighed, pulling him close. "Okay, for now." The secrecy gnawed at Ethan. A co-worker's offhand comment, "You're always sneaking off, man, got a secret girlfriend?" made him flinch. He laughed it off, but the lie burned. Caleb, though, seemed unshaken, his ease a contrast to Ethan's caution. One evening, as they walked along the waterfront, Caleb grabbed his hand. Ethan yanked it back, glancing around. "Someone might see." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Let them." Ethan's heart raced, torn between wanting to stay and wanting to run. Back at Caleb's, the tension lingered. "I'm not ashamed of you," Ethan said, voice shaking. Caleb's gaze softened. "I know, but you're ashamed of this. Of us." The words hit like a punch. Ethan wanted to argue, but Caleb's hand on his stopped him. "I'll wait," Caleb said, "but not forever." They kissed again, slower, and Ethan clung to the moment, knowing it couldn't last. The world outside was closing in, and he wasn't sure how long he could keep it at bay. Ethan's phone lit up at midnight, the notification slicing through the quiet. A social media post from an account he didn't recognize. Ryan, tagged as Caleb's ex, showed a grainy photo of Ethan and Caleb kissing outside a bar. The caption read, "Guess who's not so straight after all?" Comments piled up, each one a dagger. "Disgusting." "Knew he was hiding something." Ethan's stomach churned. His secret, his life, was now public. He scrolled, heart pounding, as the post spread. Friends from college, co-workers, even distant relatives had seen it. His phone buzzed again, his mother's name on the screen. He let it go to voicemail, dreading her words. When he listened, her voice was ice. "How could you do this to us? Don't come home." His father's text followed. "You're no son of ours." Ethan sat frozen, the weight of their rejection crushing him. He'd known they wouldn't understand, but the reality cut deeper than he'd imagined. At work the next day, whispers followed him. A co-worker muttered, "Didn't peg you for that type," as he passed. His boss called him in, voice clipped. "This situation is distracting. Focus on your work, or we'll have issues." Ethan nodded, swallowing the urge to quit on the spot. He texted Caleb, fingers shaking. "Did you see it? Ryan posted us." Caleb's reply was instant. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know he'd do this." Ethan stared at the words, doubt creeping in. How did Ryan get that photo? He met Caleb at the waterfront, the same place they'd walked hand in hand weeks ago. Now the air felt heavy, charged with unspoken accusations. "How did he know?" Ethan demanded, voice low to avoid prying ears. Caleb's shoulders slumped. "I told him we were together. I didn't think he'd—" Ethan cut him off. "You told him? After I said to keep it quiet?" Caleb's eyes pleaded. "I thought he was over me. I didn't know he'd lash out like this." Ethan's chest tightened. "You knew what this meant to me. My family, my job, everything's falling apart." Caleb reached for him, but Ethan stepped back. "I trusted you," he said, voice breaking. The betrayal stung worse than the post itself. Ryan's actions were cruel, but Caleb's carelessness had opened the door. "I need space," Ethan muttered, turning away. Caleb called after him, but Ethan kept walking, the city's noise drowning out his voice. Alone, he checked his phone again. The post had hundreds of likes now, each one a reminder of his exposure. A co-worker's message popped up. "You should have kept it in the closet." Ethan deleted it, but the words lingered. He wandered Seattle's streets, rain soaking through his jacket. His parents' rejection, his co-worker's scorn, Caleb's mistake. It all swirled, suffocating him. He'd fought to keep this part of himself hidden, but now it was out, and he felt like he was drowning. The life he'd built, the one that fit his parents' expectations, was gone. And Caleb, the one person he'd let in, had cracked it open. Ethan didn't know if he could forgive him, or if he could face the world that now knew who he was. Ethan's shoes slapped against wet pavement as he stormed toward Caleb's apartment, rain blurring his vision. The sting of Ryan's post, hundreds of mocking comments, his parents' disownment, his boss's veiled threats, fueled his anger. Caleb's text, "Can we talk?" had come too late. Ethan needed answers, not apologies. He pounded on the door, heart hammering. Caleb opened it, eyes wide with guilt. Ethan pushed past him. "You told Ryan. You knew what was at stake." Caleb shut the door, his voice low. "I didn't think he'd go that far. I mentioned we were together, that's all." Ethan spun around, fists clenched. "That's all? My parents won't speak to me. My co-workers treat me like a freak. You broke my trust." Caleb stepped closer, hands raised. "I messed up, okay? I'd never hurt you on purpose." Ethan's laugh was bitter. "But you did. You chose to tell him, knowing I wasn't ready for the world to know." The room felt too small, their words sharp and heavy. Caleb's voice cracked. "I hate hiding, Ethan. I thought you were starting to feel the same." Ethan's chest ached. He'd loved their moments together, the late-night talks, the stolen touches. but the cost was too high. "I wasn't ready," he said, quieter now. "You pushed me into this." Caleb flinched, as if struck. "So this is my fault? You're the one who kept us a secret, like I was something to be ashamed of." The accusation hit hard. Ethan's voice shook. "I wasn't ashamed of you. I was scared. My parents, my job, everything I've built, it's gone because of this." Caleb's eyes darkened. "Because of us? Say it. You're blaming us for being together." Ethan froze, the truth in Caleb's words cutting deeper than he wanted to admit. He'd spent weeks caught between fear and desire, and now the world had decided for him. "I can't do this," he whispered, turning for the door. Caleb grabbed his arm. "Don't walk away, we can fix this." Ethan yanked free, his voice breaking. "Fix what? My family's done with me. My job's hanging by a thread. And you let this happen." Caleb's hand fell, his expression crumbling. "I'm sorry," he said, barely audible. Ethan didn't look back as he left, the door slamming behind him. The rain was relentless now, soaking him as he walked, nowhere to go. His phone buzzed, another cruel comment on Ryan's post, but he ignored it. Alone, Ethan sat on a bench by the waterfront, the city's lights blurred by rain and tears. Caleb's words echoed, "Like I was something to be ashamed of." Was that true? Ethan had fought to keep their relationship hidden, not because he didn't care, but because he feared the fallout. Now, the fallout was here, and he was alone. Doubt gnawed at him. Had he pushed Caleb away too quickly? Or was Caleb's betrayal too deep to forgive? The weight of it all pressed down, leaving Ethan questioning not just Caleb, but himself. Who was he without the life he'd known? And could he ever be brave enough to find out? Ethan wandered Seattle's streets, the rain a constant companion since his fight with Caleb. His parents' silence stung, their last words, "You're no son of ours," looping in his mind. Work was no better. Colleagues' whispers followed him, and his boss had passed him over for a project, citing Team Fit. Ryan's post still haunted him, its comments a cruel reminder of his exposure. Ethan felt unmoored, his identity a wound he didn't know how to heal. One evening, scrolling aimlessly, he stumbled across a local LGBTQ+ support group's page. A post invited newcomers to a meeting at a community center. Ethan hesitated, thumb hovering over his phone. He'd spent weeks avoiding mirrors, afraid of who he'd see. But isolation was heavier than fear. He typed a quick RSVP and hit send before doubt could stop him. The meeting room buzzed with quiet chatter. Ethan lingered near the door, nerves tight. But a woman named Sarah waved him over. "First time?" she asked, her voice warm. He nodded, unsure what to say. The group shared stories, rejection, loss, but also resilience. A man spoke of losing his family but finding chosen ones. A woman described fighting workplace bias and winning. Ethan listened, their words chipping away at his loneliness. When it was his turn, he faltered, then spoke. "My family cut me off. My relationship fell apart. I don't know who I am anymore." The room didn't judge. Sarah squeezed his hand. "You're not alone." Weeks passed, and Ethan returned. The group became a lifeline, people who saw him, not his shame. One night his phone rang. It was Mia, his sister. "I don't care who you love," she said, voice thick with emotion. "You're my brother. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner." They met the next day, her hug grounding him. Mia's support was a crack of light in his darkness. "Mom and Dad might come around," she said. "Give them time." Ethan wasn't sure, but her words gave him something to hold on to. He learned Ryan faced consequences. Friends distanced themselves after his post, and his employer issued a warning for online harassment. It wasn't justice, but it was enough. Ethan didn't reach out to Caleb. The hurt lingered, a bruise he wasn't ready to touch. Instead, he focused on himself. At a group event, he spoke publicly, his voice steady as he shared his story. Applause followed, not pitying but affirming. For the first time, he felt seen, not exposed. Ethan walked home under a clearing sky, rain finally easing. He wasn't whole yet, but he was building something new. The group's stories, Mia's love, his own voice, they were steps toward a truth he'd denied too long. He didn't know if he'd ever reconcile with Caleb or his parents, but he knew he could face himself. That was enough for now. The city stretched before him, not a cage but a horizon, and Ethan took his first steady breath in weeks, ready to keep going. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell. More stories are coming that will move you, inspire you, and challenge the way you see your own journey. Every story matters, and each one brings us closer to who we are meant to become.